morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy, what is it? Is it Thursday? Happy Thursday. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone's week is going great. If not, there's always tomorrow to start anew. Every day is a new day. Every day is a brand new day for something special, whatever it is that you desire. All right, so today I'm going to talk about family. Because there's a lot that surrounds this topic and it prevents people from progressing. And it doesn't just affect people in what we know as the family setting. This also affects the way our environment in which we work. And so where I work, there's this saying, I'm not sure where it comes from. Well, it probably comes from the founder of the agency, but it's the company name, and then it's like a family of sharing, giving, caring, or something like that. But if you've listened to any of my videos, where refer to the place where I work, that place is anything but that. It is everything else but those things that they claim to be. Yet they claim it. And people do this in their own family unit, the family in which they were born into, or the group that they were born into, which they refer to as family. This actually, is my camera cooking? It looks like my camera's cooking. There. This actually prevents people from progressing, and it actually destroys them, depending on the type of family that you have, or the group that you call family, depending on what is going on with them emotionally, depending on what's going on with the group emotionally. There's a lot of things that happen, and we try to break free. Sometimes, we know that our lives aren't what we desire it to be, and we try to change it, but it's very difficult to change when you have a group of people who are holding you back. And it's really not them, and that's what I want to talk about. It's not them. It's actually you. It's the person who is trying to break free who is preventing themselves from breaking free. It's the person who is trying to improve themselves that disallow this improvement because of their attachment to the group of people which they refer to as family. And I know this very well and personally, because I had to break away from mine. And I did it for, I should say, the way I did it was not in love, which I thought it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't later until I understood why I needed to do that. In the beginning, I was angry because I wasn't getting expectations met. So we all have expectations of what we would prefer our family to be. We have this idea about how we want them to be, how we want to be in the family, how we want other people to treat us. These are expectations that we have. And we also have expectations as to what that looks like. We have a group understanding, a societal understanding, I should say, as to what family is supposed to look like. And we hold that vision within our mind, and we want that. When we look at TV and we look at movies and we see what a family is supposed to represent, usually in a movie we have a family, and then we have chaos, and then at the end everyone comes together again, and that's what we're left with. And so we hold on to this idea, and we look at our chaos, and we want that ending. We want the happy ending. But those happy endings can't happen, and they don't happen like that in the movies, obviously, because you see your life isn't like that. You see that it's like the chaos never stops. But we have to understand that these movies are scripted roles. They are scripted roles, meaning a writer can make the story any way he chooses, any way she chooses. It can end any way they want it to end. It can end with the mom dying. It can end with the mom surviving cancer. It can end with, it doesn't matter. We have the ability to make the story how we want it. But when it comes to our lives, it's not as easy. It's not as seamless as they make it seem in TV. And so we hold on to this idea, not understanding that that's not the way it works. We want it to work with that. We want it to work like that. We can't see past what we want, which is why we hold on to these people who abuse us. We hold on to the people who mistreat us. We hold on to the people who don't care about us. And because they don't care about us, we don't care about ourselves. And because we don't care about ourselves, we don't care if they don't care about us. We stay anyway. If I were to ask anyone, hey, would you allow some stranger to treat you this kind of way, mistreat you? They would say, hell no. I wouldn't allow anyone to do that to me. Yet they allow their family members to do it to them. Because we're holding on to an idea that they're going to change. And the only person who needs to change is you. And that's what I had to do. I had to change. In the beginning, like I said, I pulled away from my family because I was angry and I was hurt because I couldn't get the love that I thought I should get because we're family. You hear that, family has to stick together. Family has to stick together. It's that idea that keeps you in that state of self-punishment. It's that idea that allows you to stay and not receive love. It's that idea that allows you to stay and continually be hurt by the mistreatment, by the lack of acknowledgement, by the dismissal. All of it. The anger, the rage, the jealousy, the envy. All of these things are within the family unit. And we stay because a lot of it is fear. But we really want them to change. For the most part, we really want them to change. We really want them to be that which we desire them to be. And we have to understand the truth. The truth is they don't have to do anything. And so and really that's the way it's supposed to be. It may sound stupid, but it's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way the Creator designed it. The Creator designed it in this way so you know if you're not getting love from these people, let me just put it this way. If you do not receive love from someone, it's because you don't have love for yourself. And that is the message, as I said yesterday, that is the message that the universe is sending to you. It's saying you don't love yourself, so you can't have a family that loves you. You can't have a family who loves you. You can't have people around you who care about you because you don't care about yourself. And this is the way it is. Anyone who is on drugs, anyone who's out prostituting, anyone who's out doing all kinds of things that are under the umbrella of self-harm, it's because they don't love themselves. They had family members, they had friends who could care less about them. Because if they did, well, if they had family members to care about them, that means they have love for themselves because they're getting a reflection of what's within their soul. And sometimes we don't see it like that. Sometimes it's hard to see it, which is why it's so important to understand the laws. This is why it's so important to understand the rules. This is why it's so important to understand the system. This is why it's so important to understand how everything operates. Because when you get confused, you refer back to the truth. It's like law, like a law student, right, or a lawyer. When you don't know what to do with the case in a certain situation, you refer to the law books in order to get clarity, in order to get your footing. And that's what a lawyer does. A lawyer looks up something and says, oh, this is the law, this is the fact, this is the way that it is, and now I know how to present my case, now I know how to move forward with everything else. Now I know what to do. And that's the same thing with the universe. So if you learn the laws, if you learn the structure, if you learn the operating system, because the judicial system is not going to allow you to do something that is outside of the judicial system. It's not going to happen. You have to work within the structure of the system. And so you have to refer to the laws that are written in the books. That's how you're going to gain clarity. And this is how you gain clarity in life. This is how I gain clarity. I always refer to, if I'm confused, if I'm not sure about something, I always refer to the law. Always refer to the law. Should I help someone? Well, let's look at the law. What's going on with the person? Why is that going on? You refer to the law. This is their law of attraction. Why is that happening? Well, because they don't love themselves. So, how do I proceed? Well, and I guess an example would be, I guess I can use my work as an example. There are individuals who are very mean and angry. They're in managerial positions. And some of them want to put you in a place where you're argumentative and you're defying them. And so when they're throwing out the bait like that, I have to ask myself, okay, how do I handle this situation? Well, let's look at the situation. This person is angry. What does that mean? They're holding in pain. They're in denial of it. It's not about me, because all anger expressed is all pain denied, all fear denied. And that's what the anger is. So now that I know that, now that I know it's not me, there's no reason for me to get upset. Another thing is, if this person is in pain, then I should have love and compassion for them. So, and that's going to help me to respond to the situation. Now I'm no longer confused. Another thing that I would understand is that this person has free will to treat me any way that they choose. That is what I know. But what I also know is that I also have free will, and I have the right to not be abused. And so that helps me to move forward in the situation in a manner that is both loving and just. And so I always refer to the laws. I always refer to the rules, to the gifts, to the way the structure is, the system is operating. Some chapstick. Because without that, you're going to yell, you're going to kick, you're going to scream, you're going to fight, then you end up fired. And the thing is, if you paid attention to what I would just... Hold on. And if you were paying attention, then you just heard me say something, but something else was also dismissed. It wasn't even part of the equation, and that was the bait. The bait that they put out there to get you to respond a certain way. People who are angry need a reason to sustain their anger. If they do not have a reason to sustain their anger, that is not them, something happens. They stop because you're not giving them what they need. All anger is expressed outwardly. People who are in denial, that anger is expressed outwardly. And if you don't give them a reason, they can't express that. And that means they are vulnerable, because now they can't say it's because you said this to me, which is why I said X, Y, and Z. They don't have that outlet. They don't have that option. So what you do is you rob them of that. You rob the fire of the oxygen that it needs to be sustained. I need to get way over there, and let's do it smoothly, and let's do it quickly. Just like that. Boom. So, understand that. Oh, I understand that. But if you understand this, then... and the reason why I'm bringing this up, because we get involved with our families in a manner that is conducive to their condition. We sustain the disharmony. When someone is mad at you or treats you badly, you get mad and treat them badly in return. You hate them internally. You hate them externally. And you're no different than the person you're attempting to be different from. You are the exact, which is why you're in that family. That is proof that you are where you are supposed to be. It is not until you change. It is not until you change that you will be removed from that family. Automatically. It's not something you have to do on purpose. It's something that just happens. And like I said in the beginning, when I let go of my family, because I said, to myself, it's like they don't love me. They don't care about me. They didn't. And I knew that from when I was a child, which is where the pain and the hurt came from. And I was like, you know what? I just started pulling back. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to even bother them, because for all kinds of reasons. But then later on I understood, not so much I'm not going to bother them because they don't love me. It was later on I understood that I simply just don't want to be around anyone who isn't caring. I don't want to be around anyone who isn't loving. That's not the people I want to interact with. If I have to, interact with them, that's fine, but I know a relationship can't be had, and I'm not going to involve myself in such a manner where we're going to be so close, because that's just going to, I'm just putting myself in harm's way. And this is what I'm learning not to do, is put myself in harm's way. So the same way that I'm dealing with family, like internal family, like close family, is the same way I deal with people at work. I don't deal with you. There are people who I don't even talk to. I say hello, and that's it. but there's no engagement. It's just a simple hello, hi. It's not hi, how you doing? It's hi, have a great day, see you later. That's it. Because I don't desire a relationship with them, because the only relationship that they desire is a combative one. And so we have to understand, if that's what they desire and that's not what I desire, then I need to create a different family. Meaning I need to just love myself. And as you love yourself, you're introduced to people, you meet people who are on your wavelength, who are now at, I should say, you meet people who you're a vibrational match to or with. And now a relationship, a new relationship can be forged. And that becomes your new family. But we have this idea that family has to, the people the family unit you're born into, you have to stay with them and you have to support them no matter what. No, I can't do that. I have family members who just, for whatever, like, just, like my little brother. I love my little brother, but he's on a destructive path. And he's an adult. He's like in his 30s. And there's nothing I can do to change him. That's outside of my scope. That's outside of my control. And if I dare try to change him, I get penalized. And so I have to respect the boundaries that the Creator has set. I have to let the Creator do what the Creator needs to do with my brother. That's his child. That's not my child. That's my brother. And so I have to let the parent do its job. I have to let the parent do its work. Because in actuality, we're all brothers. If you're listening to this video, you're my brother or my sister. And you're really not a brother or sister, you're just my relative. Because the soul has no gender. So we're just all relatives. We're all siblings. That's the best way to say it. We're all siblings. And I understand that. And because I understand, those mountains are so just amazingly beautiful. They're so green. I wish they showed up like that in my camera. Just amazing. Hold on, my camera's, I think that's better. So what was I saying? Yeah, I don't know what I was saying about family, but anyway, we, like I said, we have, this idea that we have to stay with our biological family, I should say. But understand, like I said just a moment ago, if you have an unloving family, it's because there's things that are unloving within you. And if you're staying around to be abused, that is your message to you, letting you know that you are just like them. They're angry and dismissive to you. You're angry and want to be dismissive to them. Why? Because you're all in pain. All of you. The entire family unit is in pain. So you may say, they hate you. You could be the younger one and say, they've been mean to me. Well, it's because someone was mean to them. And they're pained. And they don't know how to express that other than towards you. Maybe, they were meant to feel less than by someone else. If they came before you, they were pained before you. So sometimes if you're younger, it looks like, they were always mean to me. They're just always mean to me. But if you don't have any love, meaning you don't have compassion and understanding, you won't be able to see this that I'm speaking. You won't be able to see that they came before me. They were hurt before me. Now I'm getting the result of what they experienced. You can't see that if you're always about, they treated me like this, they treated me like that. And the thing is, if you've been harmed by many of them, if you have many brothers and sisters or family members who have mistreated you, you are holding on to all of that pain, not understanding why you're saying to yourself, I didn't do anything to deserve this. And no, you didn't do anything physically to deserve it, but there's something within your soul that you don't even know is there that's attracting it. And this is what I'm saying. If you don't understand, you cannot release yourself from the bondage. You cannot release yourself from the pain. You cannot release yourself from the cage. You just can't release yourself because you're holding on to it. And usually the youngest one is the most angry. The most angry. Why? Because they were mistreated by so many people. Versus the older one who only had mistreatment from maybe their mother and their father. And maybe the second one had more mistreatment because now they had mistreatment from the mother, the father, and the older sibling. And maybe the third one is like, you know, feeling the pain from the older brother, the other second oldest sibling or whatever, and the mom and the dad. So now they get bombarded with all the pain. And then by the time the last one comes, well, that one can be completely different, depending on how that child is treated. Because sometimes the parent, this is interesting, because sometimes the parents, well, depending on how the parents process things. So if they learn of their ways, if they have 4 children altogether, and they have the older 3, and they realize that they have been doing things incorrectly in raising them, if they realize the wrong or how they mistreated them, they may completely, because they have remorse. They feel remorseful for what they've done. And now they want to make things better. They want to change. And so they treat the younger one differently. They give that child love. And then here you have the oldest ones. Here you have the oldest ones jealous and envious because they can't understand why the youngest one gets treated so well. And why they weren't treated well. Why they were treated badly. Why they were treated in a manner where they were abused, mistreated, dismissed. Why they were unkept growing up, but the younger one gets all the toys, all the clothes, all the this and that and the other, gets have complete freedom. There's just no telling. There's no telling. And so they may be treated differently. But so the parents may treat them differently because they realize that their wrongdoings, all right, they may change. But if they did not release the emotional injuries from the soul, then that young child, the youngest one, has all the emotional injuries from the parents. So it may look like they're loving now, but the unloving things within them, the pain within them still remains. And since it still remains, it's transferred to the child. Which is why the parents are treating them so nicely, because they recognize something in themselves and they're trying to be different, they're trying to change. Yet the brothers and sisters still mistreat the young child, the youngest one. And now the child can't understand why brother and sister or brother and brother, whoever, is treating them badly. It's because of the things that are within their soul. Because their soul calls for it, despite how the parents are treating them. And, I noticed that this happened with me and my mom and my older brother and sister. During the time my older brother was born and being raised, my mother was going through all kinds of things. She was very uncertain. Because she was kicked out of the house for dating and marrying a black guy. So there was a sense of abandonment. There was this feeling of not being loved, not having self-worth, not feeling that she was worthy. Totally being casted out by the mother. And my mom's father was not in the picture, and it wasn't until she was I think in her 40s before she even learned actually who her father was. And it was due to her half-brother that this had taken place. But so she grew up with this uncertainty, with this lack of understanding of self. And so here my older brother is basically homeless, feels abandoned, feels isolated and by himself, because this is what was going on during this time when he was being conceived. And so he is a representation of what my mom was experiencing back then. And so my mother was also mistreated by men. And I think I said it in my video, I had found out that, she was raped as a little girl. And then she has a stepfather who, mistreated her, was very dismissive and abusive to her. And he's the one who kicked her out. My grandmother didn't do it, but she didn't have any backbone. She was weak. She was just a weak person. And so my mother felt like she needed to, and I told you, and I said before, the Creator creates the perfect soul for you. And my mother at that time needed to develop her strength, needed to see that, you can be a woman and you don't have to be dependent upon a man. And that wasn't who my mother was. So who did she get? She got my sister, who was very strong, very, very strong, too strong actually, for her own good. but she's a very strong woman, and she's an independent woman, and she'll fight. And that's what my mother was going through at that time, and that's what she got. And I think there's like 11 years between us, and so it was 11 years later, and then I came along. And so my mother was going through something completely different. She met my dad, and he was in the Marines, all that stuff. But I came out differently. I came out completely differently. And, I've had conversations with my sister and about, mom, and she's like, wow, she goes, I don't even know who that person is. Like, you have a different mother than I, a different version of her, or she said, you got a different version of her than I did. Like, you have a totally different perspective about her. Your situations and the perspectives that she had are different from the ones that she knew that my mother had at that time. And so what I'm saying is, like, there's many reasons why we get treated differently. My mother looked at the mistakes she made with my older brother. She looked at the mistakes she made with my sister. And also during that time, my mother was a Jehovah's Witness. And everything was structure. Everything was strict. Everything was no. No, no, no. Not because, well, when you're in a religion, you live by that religion. And you also live by, or live based on how other people in the religion perceive you. Because when you're in a religion, there's a certain structure, there's a certain code that you live by. And you are judged by that, because that's what churchy people do, is they just judge all day, all day, all day. So you live by this judgment, trying to stay within the confines of this structure that you have agreed to, that you have accepted to be the model for your life. And so this is what happened. So my brother and sister were extremely rebellious growing up, because they had so much restriction placed upon them. And when I came along, I basically didn't have any. I didn't have any restriction. I literally could go anywhere I wanted to go. I could do anything I wanted to do. My mother never questioned it. And partly it's because of the understanding that she had, because she didn't have trust. So she felt like she had to control everything. But as she got older, she understood that was the wrong thing to do. That was the wrong thing to do. So when I came along and I was being conceived, she had a different emotions, different feelings going on. She felt like, I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to have this pregnancy and be different. My goal for my child, me, is going to be different. I'm going to raise this child differently than I did with the others. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. And that's the reason why I have what I have. This is why I was allowed to do the things that I was allowed to do. And because I was allowed to do any and everything basically that I wanted to do, I didn't rebel, because I had freedom. Now, the only lack of freedom that I had was basically from the financial perspective. I couldn't go places because we didn't have money. I couldn't do this because we didn't have money. We didn't have a car. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. I couldn't go here because I didn't have proper clothes for that. I mean, those are the restrictions that were placed upon me. But those were universal restrictions. It wasn't my mother saying, yes, I have it, but you can't have it. No. I could have anything that I want. And so, for me growing up, I didn't feel like I was deprived of anything. I didn't even feel like I was deprived of a father, which is why I really didn't desire it. It wasn't something that I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. Even though I was missing out on a huge aspect of having my father. However, at the same time, I'm grateful that I didn't have my father in my life in the condition that he was in. Because I understand that is a blessing. That is a blessing. And I told you yesterday, we don't understand that everything that we're getting is a blessing. Even the things that we are deprived of, it's a blessing. But we have to see how it's a blessing. Yes, and understand that the reason why my father wasn't in my life is because of his choices. And the universe supported that, because the universe knew whatever my mother desired for me, he was not part of that. Meaning who he is, who she knew him to be, was not part of what she desired for me. Something completely different. Completely different. And this is what we have to understand when it comes to family. Sometimes it's like, I guess not sometimes, but if we are in the presence of unloving people, understand it's because you have things that are within your soul that say it's okay for that to happen. You are in agreement with that. And that is so difficult for people to understand, no matter who I talk to or how many times I say it. People really have a hard time accepting this. They have an extremely hard time accepting this, which is why they're stuck in their frustration. I mean, I talk to people all the time, and it's not that they don't get it, is they don't want to accept it. They don't want that to be the thing. They can't accept the fact that their soul is calling all these things to them. But there's a skunk outside. But they are able to say to themselves, oh, that's the reason why that person is experiencing that, because they have that within their soul. Oh, it's okay to see it in other people, but when it comes to ourselves, to themselves, they don't want to see it at all. They block that out. That's not even an option. An option at all. And it's this blindness that we choose to live by. And it's this blindness that keeps us making decisions in terms of staying around people who mistreat us. Like, when I look at my family on my mom's side, I'm not talking about my dad's side. But, when I look at my family on my mom's side, it's like, would it be nice to have a relationship with them? Absolutely. Can that happen right now? Nope. Because they're still the same people. How do I know that? They haven't reached out. There isn't any law of attraction. Nothing has come up where we are forced to interact with one another. Nothing has come up where we cross paths again. It hasn't come up. And that tells me that things haven't changed. Now, if I were still angry, I would still try to reach out to them. I'm not angry. I understand where they are. And I'm leaving them alone. Not because I'm mad at them, not because I hate them, but because I understand they are where they are and I am where I am. And honestly, I like where I am right now. I like not having any drama. I like not feeling like I'm an outcast. I do like the feeling that I'm having now. I like that better than trying to make something happen. Families stick together. If that were the case, I would be miserable continually, still today. But I'm not trying to make something happen that can't happen. I accept that certain things can't happen. Now, I also understand that things can change later. Oh, absolutely. Anything is possible. And they're not going to be degraded that long. They're not going to be graded for that long. So what does that mean? At some point we will reunite. We just can't be united right now. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that. Because I would rather have an interaction with them when they're loving and get what I actually deserve, what I feel I deserve, what I know I deserve, than be in someone's company and getting something that I don't deserve. But if I truly desired to, or I should say, if I really needed to be in their company and they are unloving, I deserve any mistreatment that I get, because I'm not looking at it from the perspective of loving myself. That's not even an option. That's not even a thought. Loving myself isn't a thought. My only requirement would be I need to be in contact with my family. I want to have them around just so I can feel supported even though they don't support you. Well, I'm not looking for the falsehood. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I want. I don't want anything that's fake. So I don't engage in things that would yield that. That's simple. That's simple. So when it comes to family, understand that You create your own family based on your vibrational match. Some people get married and they create a family of their own, and they don't even talk to their brothers and sisters or mom and dad too often, because they're creating a family of their own. And that tells you right there that we create the family. It's not pressed upon us. We can allow it to. We can allow other people's ideas of what family is be pressed upon us, and we live from that place. But we don't have to. We choose. We have the ability to choose what our family and who our family is going to be. And the thing is, we don't even, family isn't something that we have to make happen. Family is something that really just happens. That's it. Like, we don't have to create one. We don't have to say, well, I need to create my own family. That's still a need for family. And so that means, where are you in your independence? Where are you in terms of being self-sufficient? Where are you in terms of loving yourself? Because if you love yourself, you will never, ever, 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 ever need someone else to love you. You will not need any facade of love to be present, because you truly love yourself. Self-love is the most important thing. I've said this time and time again. Self-love is the only thing that you need to be sustained. And when someone else wants to share their love with you, who is actually loving, you accept it as the gift that it is. But when you're degraded and you don't love yourself, you can't see that other people really aren't trying to be there because they don't love you. Degraded people cannot see falsehood. They cannot see lies. They will be there in front of them, and they may recognize it, but they won't see it. They won't acknowledge it. This is the truth. So anyone who's in an abusive family, it's because you choose not to see it. You may recognize that there's a possibility that, like, you may know that you're mistreated, but you don't see it. Not to the point where you can do something with it, because you have other things going on within you that prevent that from even being a tool for you to use to get out of the situation that you're in. That's why people stay in abusive families, abusive relationships. You know what? All this bullshit. You know what? You are doing crazy. So, it's the self-love is the thing that will. Let me get out of here. Self-love is that thing that fixes everything. It doesn't matter what it is in your life, it fixes everything. If you have it, you don't have to worry about anything. There's nothing that needs fixing, because self-love takes care of it. Self-love is that self-correcting thing. It's self-correcting. It fixes everything. It really does. So when you have self-love, the right people come into your life, meaning the loving people come into your life. People come into your life and support you. People come into your life and offer you things that you didn't even know were possible. Sometimes dreams that you had when you were a child are made manifest because that one person came into your life, showed you what was possible, got you back on track, got you to remember the dream that you had when you were a child. That is actually happening to me right now. And it blew my mind when it happened. Blew my mind. I was like, whoa, that is so crazy. And I saw it. It was clear as day. Clear as day. And most people see these signs, most people see these things, but they have doubt. And it's that doubt that prevents it prevents themselves from accepting the fact that it's there and it's possible. And that's what prevents these people from moving forward in it. They're given the signs all the time. We're always given a sign. It's like, hey, remember that dream? It's possible. It's possible, and then the doubt comes in. And then you don't do anything. Then you're stuck and stagnant again. And then the universe has to bring you things that are representative of that stagnation. And that's the energy that's supported. And then you get back in your slump. And then the sign is brought to you again, and you don't see it, or you do see it, and then you have doubt, over and over again. But anyway, but this is the same thing that happens with family. You see that you're being mistreated, you know that you don't like the treatment, but then something happens, and you're like, I need to leave. And I met a guy last night actually, and he came out here to he wanted to do modeling. He came out here to get a modeling gig, and he's never done it before. He was from Minnesota, and he's unemployed. He just lost his job, and he came all the way out here. He flew out here for an audition. He missed the audition, and now he was going back empty-handed. But in talking with him, he lacked self-confidence. Sure did. And it's something, he was running away from something, because I asked him, I said, hey, how do you like Minnesota? Oh, it's just time for me to leave, I want to get out of there. I was like, okay, and I understood. And I'm not too familiar with Minnesota, but I pictured it being like this small town, rural type, setting. So I said, what's the population where you're from? He said 80,000. I said, 80,000? 80,000 is small. Like, it's super small. Like, I come from Fresno, and that place is small, and it's 500 and something thousand. And it has a, small city, small town thing going on. So I can imagine what 80,000 is. And so he was frustrated because there was nothing there. And so he was trying to run from something rather than moving forward with a desire. He was reaching for something to get out of that place. And I guess they said that he was attractive or whatever growing up. Maybe he is from his town. I don't know. But, whatever. I'm not saying anything. But, he I guess people told him this, but he didn't feel that. And I could tell by the way he was speaking. Like, he didn't have the confidence. He didn't believe that he was attractive. He was doing it because other people said he's cute or attractive or whatever, or handsome or whatever. And that's where it came from. It didn't come from him believing that he was attractive or handsome and he would make a good model. Nope. Which is why he missed the whole thing. He flew all the way out here, and he missed his audition. He got there late. He blamed it on traffic. He goes, the traffic, and I missed it. And the whole time I'm thinking it had nothing to do with the traffic. It had everything to do with you really not desiring it. Because if you really desired it, you would be there early. You would make sure you were there. You would make sure that you were not going to miss this. You would account for anything to happen. You would leave early because you were like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know I can't miss this audition. And that wasn't in his mind because he really doesn't want to do it. He's just trying to use that as an escape from where he is. He has a lot of pain there. I don't know exactly what it was because we didn't talk like that, but that's just the way it happens. And the same thing happens with our family. It's like we try to run away, but with our family, there's an added thing to that. And it's, we desire things. We have needs that we feel, addictions, I should say. We have addictions that need to be met. And our family members give it to us. Because because the family, the dysfunctional family, I should say, is in a addictive relationship. That's all it is. It's about addiction. Everyone is meeting someone else's addiction. At some point, you help them when they need help. But they also yell at you, or I should say they yell at each other, because all the pain and anger that they have, they need to release. And so where can it go? It's not going to go towards themselves. It's going to go to their family members. And that's also an addiction. The whole back and forth yelling and being angry at one another, that's part of the addiction. Which is why most people don't want to leave. Because you can't forge a new relationship when you're yelling at someone. You can't meet someone new and say, fuck you, you're an asshole. You cannot build a relationship like that. And we know that, which is why we present our best selves possible when we meet someone new. This is why the facade comes out. Oh, hi, my name is Johnny, and, oh, wow, I like to do this, I like to do that. Let's go out and do this, and let's go out and do that. And, you put your best face on and best foot forward, and you just move forward with that, with the facade. Then after a while, those addictions, either they're not meeting your addictions anymore, or if they're not meeting your addictions, then you get tired of the facade. You're like, okay, I don't need this addiction anymore. And then the truth comes out and you're like, oh, you either stop talking to the person or you find a reason to stop talking to that person. Oh, I didn't like him because he did this. I don't like her because she did that. You come up with all kinds of reasons to get out of the addiction that you engaged in the first place. They're all addictions. Most relationships are addictions, or addiction based, I should say, based on facade. It's not based on truth. The truth is you're angry. The truth is you're pained, and you can do this with family members. So as much as you hate your family, you like the fact that you argue because it allows you to vent. You can say F you, go to hell, screw you, whatever. You can mistreat them. You can hold something from them. You can punish people. You can do all these different things with family members, but you do that to a stranger and see what happens. You know better. You know better, unless you're so degraded, and at that point you consider to have a mental illness, but you're so pained and degraded you don't give a shit. But really, you want to, family members are used as punching bags. You guys are using each other at punching bags. Husband's mean to the wife. Wife's mean to the husband. Wife's mean to the kids. Husband's mean to the kids. Punching bags. That's all it is. Punching bags. Pow, pow, pow. Like those old Batman series. Pow, bang, pow. Seriously, that's what it is. And you don't want to give that up. You don't want to give it up. But once you decide to give it up, oh my gosh, let me tell you the amazing things that happen. You meet people who are caring. You meet people who are compassionate. You meet people who care. You just meet people who don't want to use you for anything. You meet people who are cooperative components to who and what you are. No one's judging you. That's it. You can be free. You can be free. That's what happens when you let go of that need and desire to harm others. When you get rid of that desire to not project rage and anger, when you have that desire to be more loving, just for the simple fact of being more loving, because that's what you want to be. That's the truth. That's the way, not the way you're supposed to be, but the way you choose to be. And there's a huge difference. The Bible says you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to be that. Holy books say you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to be that. But when you choose to be that, when you choose it for yourself, it's completely different. That's when the law of attraction, that's when your law of attraction changes. Your law of attraction doesn't really change if you feel forced to do something, because you're still living in resistance. Your law of attraction changes when you want to change and be better for yourself. So, if you're in an unloving environment, family environment, and you want to be loving to yourself, you do everything that looks like it's loving to yourself. So if you don't want to argue, then you stay away from people who want to argue, because that's not what you desire. And there has to be a reason why inside of you, because you desire a more loving, a more healthy environment. And then everything changes because you're changing inside. It's not just the actions. It's not, I need my family, I'm just going to sit here and let them yell at me, but I'm not going to respond. But you're still subjecting yourself to harm. You're still subjecting yourself to unloving things. So just because you're not going to shout at them in return That doesn't mean that you're loving yourself. It means you're not expressing your anger, but you're holding in your anger. Because as someone is cursing you out, you're still feeling some kind of way about it. And because you're feeling some kind of way about it, the universe is going to respond to that. Which is why you're still sitting there. Because there's still something within you haven't released it yet. I don't know where I am, but I know I couldn't go that other way. Oh, this big circle. This big circle is new. It looks new, or maybe not new. I don't know. I like this little turnabout thing, little turn circle, whatever. So yeah. Anyway, so that's that, people. I think I'll go straight. That's family. Be aware of it. Be mindful of what your true desires are. If you feel you really need family and you can't be without family, you're living in a false belief. Because you can do anything without anyone. That's the power that the soul has, the individual soul. It has power to do things alone. But you don't have to do things alone. So allow those loving things to come, the loving people to support you in the loving way. Allow those people to come forth. But in order for those people to come forth, you have to let go of the ones that are harming you. You have to let go of the expectations that you have, that they need to be this way, they need to be that way. They need to change. They don't need to change. You need to change. Anything, any expectation, any desire that we have for another is wrong. We can have a desire, but we can't expect them to be that. I can have a desire that my brother be, in a better place. I can desire that he change. Actually, absolutely, I can desire that. But I can't expect him to do it. I have to respect his decision to do what he's doing right now. That's his free will choice to do so. And we have to do that with our family members, which is what I'm doing with my family member. My sister hasn't called me in I don't know how long. And I used to call her all the time, and she would never call me, and so I had to stop. I was like, obviously she wants to be left alone. So let me leave her alone. The universe already knows I have a desire to connect with her. The universe already knows that I have a desire to connect with my brother. There's no resistance to that. They know I want a positive, loving relationship with them. But the universe is also recognizing her desire. And her desire is going to trump my desire if it has anything to do with her. My desire is going to trump her desire if it has to do with me. And so I have to recognize that, and I do recognize that. I understand that. Which is why I don't have an issue with it. It's like, okay, at some point in the future, we will come together again. Whether it's here on Earth, whether it's, when we die. But at some point, I know it's going to happen. The bond is too strong for that. The connection is too strong, I should say. The connection is too strong for us to never, ever, 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 ever talk again. It's too strong for that. We have way too much history together. Too many soul-based relationship, emotions, feelings, experiences. We're connected. We're just connected. So, we have to be aware and be mindful of this, because if we're not, we end up harming ourselves in the end. We end up harming ourselves at the end because we don't understand. We don't understand how to love ourselves. We don't understand how to disconnect from the things that harm us. We just don't understand. And so it's our responsibility. Each soul has its own responsibility to itself. It's not the family's responsibility to fix you. It's not the family's responsibility to treat you in a better way. And we oftentimes feel that way. We feel that the family should be the one who changes themselves and treats us in a manner that's loving. We we tend to believe this, and that's a false belief. That is an absolute false belief. And so we have to just become the independent souls that we were meant to be. Now, we have a soulmate, and the thing is, yes, you can live life with your soulmate, but those things aren't going to change if you don't, how should I say? Those things aren't going to change if you still hold the expectations of family members. If you hold those expectations, then you keep yourself in bondage. You keep yourself in that place, because it's wrong to have that expectation towards someone. So we are penalized. We penalize ourselves for having that expectation placed upon another person, because we don't have that ability. We don't have that authority. So we have to be mindful of that. All right, everyone, I'm done talking about that. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye now.